Okay. Let's stop the video. First off, I would like to apologize for the bad camera positioning. It was just me there, so my apologies. However, I definitely want you guys to enjoy this video because it's a very powerful conversation. Enjoy the video. What's up, everybody? This is the next episode of Randomz. This is your host, Ant. I'm here with my man,
Budda Black,
no doubt. So, where you from, my man?
from Englewood, New Jersey, right here. You know, this is not where I was born, but where I was raised a lot.
And what do you do?
Do a multitude of stuff. A lot of art, I travel, done music, just live life and try to be happy, you know?
No doubt. I think that's what we all trying to do out here.
Yeah.
Live life and be happy, no doubt. But let's talk about the painting. You know what I'm saying?
Cool.
Like, what got you into painting? Was that something that you wanted to do as a kid?
It's interesting. As a kid, I really wasn't that good at painting. The only thing I could really draw was Ninja Turtle faces, Homer Simpson faces, and by like middle school, Wu-Tang was big. Sorry, I'm showing my age, but yeah, I used to draw Wu-Tang symbols all the time. You know, so like those were really the only things I could draw. I mean, going back into it, I used to tag up the desks, like only with those things. Like sometimes like fully tag up the desk, but I really wasn't into art. I used to always be like, man, I don't really like art. And looking through my old books, I could see there's a lot of doodles that I was doing, just doodles of everything. But I was really into rhyming a lot when just middle school through high school. I was just like, you know, that's what I want to do. I want to write rhymes. Want to, you know, be a rapper. You know, that whole dream stuff. And so I was really involved with just writing a lot, not graffiti writing, but just writing rhymes and figuring out how to structure songs. So that's kind of where my mind started with it.
Structuring songs?
Yeah.
All right, you know what? Let's do something spontaneous for the first time on Randomz. How about you kick a freestyle real quick?
Oh man, nah, I don't even do freestyles no more, man. Yo, you put me on this spot. Nah, we can't do that. Let's go back into the art. Yo, nah, I got It's too much to talk about the freestyle stuff.
All right, no freestyle. Maybe a written though. Maybe a written. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, maybe a written.
Yeah.
Man, I don't think I have any clean writtens. Alright, I might have a clean written that I might have written a long time ago if I can remember. Man, you put me on the spot.
Yeah.
Something to rip it. I'm looking through my rhyme books for something that's written, something that's wicked. This paper out here, I'm trying to get it. That's it. That's it. That's all I need. That's all you need to know, yo.
That's
you know what I mean?
That's what's up. I appreciate you being a good sport, though. I appreciate that. No doubt.
But I mean, that's really what it is. I'm just looking. That's really kind of what that whole song was about. Was just like, yo, how can I put a song together to get to the ears of the people in a way to make a profit. You know what I mean? And it was like, you know what I mean? Like, what do I got to do? Like, pretty much like, how do I got to dance for people to like me? I mean, and really, it's not really even all about that. Just do what you got to do. And I mean, some things will monetize, some things won't. You know what I mean? And some things that do monetize you'll feel pleasure from, and some things might not. You know what I mean? And so I'll go by what's gonna go by pleasure, not pleasure like for the instant. You know what I mean? What's bringing genuine pleasure? What's bringing what's helping you and also helping somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So and I think with the art, what kind of it's just move around in the art industry, like just coming from the music industry and trying to do that. I also got into audio engineering. As I got older, I went to engineering school. I started working for a couple jazz studios, I was recording, I'm setting up mics, breaking down mics, doing real meticulous stuff. And being in that situation, I'm meeting studio musicians that are coming in on sessions, on jazz sessions, and they're like, oh, who's the bassist on this so-and-so? Oh, I haven't seen him since Japan. Oh, and they're coming in talking about all these stories, traveling. Oh yeah, I just got off tour, da, da, da. And like some of them are 20 years old, some of them are like 60 years old, and they're all just chilling, talking. I'm like, yo, like they're living the life that I kind of like, yo, as a kid writing rhymes, that's what I want to do. Chill around, go to these different places. And what else did I want to do? Be in the studio all day with a whole bunch of chicks. And I was like, all right, this is cool. But like, and I am in the studio all day, not popping bottles with a whole bunch of chicks. I'm actually doing work, so I'm getting money, which is cool. But I mean, I love that. But after like a couple years of 15 hours a day, and I was a little bit older, you know what I mean? I'm like, yo, man, I kind of want to get out of here, you know what I mean? So it's like, in selling my CDs, I was always selling my CDs. At the same time, I was I had a spray painted car that I got painted in Newark by the Boom Squad. Shout out to Tame One. Shout out to Merge. Shout out to Unity. I just talked to Big Bro earlier. I was trying to get him in here earlier, but Unity was a real big influence to me. I came and I talked to Tame One at a rap show. I was rapping and I was like, bro, yo, paint my car. It's a 78 Impala. And he was like, man, I ain't painting that. And then like later he was like, bro, let's go hit it. Right?
Hold up, time out. So you had a spray painted 78 Impala?
Yeah, I got it. I still got it in the garage, bro. But
driving
it's like,
all through the hood with that?
Yeah, yo,
That was probably lit.
Yo, lit. And it was done by the Boom Squad, so it was like legendary Newark, not even legendary Newark, also New Jersey, also just graffiti in general, kings, you know what I'm saying? And what's it called? Just having that done, and then every year I would call Unity up and I'd be like, yo, bro, like, yo, hit it, you know what I mean? He'd be like, yo, give me, you know what I mean, throw me a little cash, get a case of beers, you know what I mean, and you know what I mean, buy the cans. And I was like, all right, cool, you know what I mean. So I go to Home Depot, just buy whatever colors I wanted. He'd be like, all right, yeah, you messed up by buying the gloss, but it's cool, we work with this, you know what I mean? He's just working, we just spraying. He was like, yo, we using stock caps, we're not really using no art cans, just like straight Home Depot stuff. He was like, yo, yeah, this is stuff we paint trains with, da 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 da. Right? I'm like, all right, cool. And he's like, all right, yeah, go fill it in right here. I'm like, bro, like, what? He's like, yeah, go fill this, you do this side, I'll do this side. And I was like, what, bro? I'm paying you, bro. Like, go do this, right? And he was like, well, I mean, you could fill it in on this, like, just, here, I'll do the outline, you fill it in. And I'm like, bro, like, what happens if I mess up? And he's like, yo, you got all this paint, you don't mess up till you run out of paint. I'm like, what? He was like, yeah, lesson 1. And I was like, bro, like, I got to go to school for this. And he was like, you already went to school. And I was like, man, you don't even know me, man. I didn't even like this in high school. And he was like, well, you went to high school? He was like, so you went to kindergarten, right? I'm like, yeah. Well, what they teach you in kindergarten? I was like, 1, 2, 3s, ABCs. And he was like, they also taught you connect the dots, color in the lines. You know what I mean? Your colors, your shapes. I'm like, bro, it's not that easy. Yeah, it is. I'm like, all right, whatever. And he was like, all you gotta do is point and spray, man. Like, you could do that, right? And I was like, I guess so, you know. I still was kind of timid. I would just sit there and watch him, but he'd explain what he was doing, and every year he'd do it all in a day. You know what I mean? All in a day, just beginning to end, and be done by nightfall. Did it 2 or 3 years in a row. And then 4th year comes around, and he'd always say, you know, anything you draw, you could paint. All you had to do was just draw once a day to be an artist. You know what I mean? It could be a line, a dot, a circle. It could be your name. He was like, you know what I mean? If you're just writing your name, he was like, yo, you write rhymes every day. You're an artist. You know what I mean? He was like, you know how to use a pen. I was like, all right, whatever. You know what I mean? Just saying simple stuff, convincing me, and I'm like, whatever. But he's planting seeds. He planted seeds, and he's just working the land. And I'm just like, man, this is unfertile land right here, man. It's concrete. You're not breaking this. You know what I mean?
No
like,
doubt.
I'm rapping, bro. Like, ugh. And then he's like, you know what I mean? Then he said this other thing that kind of, I think this was really the seed. He said, and I was like, bro, did you go to school? And he was like, nah, but some lady, she showed me certain things when I was about 16. And he was like, but you always just pick stuff up, just doing it. And he was like, the one thing that I learned, ever since I learned to draw or paint, I never had to worry where my next meal came from.
Wow.
Yeah, bro.
Wow.
Like that feeling that you just got.
Wow.
The feeling that I just had. I was like, all right, whatever. You know what I mean? I heard it. You know what I mean? But everything else was kind of going over the head. But that one, like, even though I still wasn't like, yo, I want to be an artist, that sunk in a little bit, you know, and it bore a hole. And then after about like, and he was always like, oh, it's not cheating if you go on YouTube, you know what I mean? He was like, I go on YouTube and I've been doing this since the 80s. I'm like, all right, like he was like, you can always learn new things, like you always got to learn, you know what I mean? And
it's the key to survival.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like we always growing. I mean, as people, I know we're gonna get into that question soon, but as people or as people, as individuals, as beings, as whatever one believes that they are, or whatever we believe that we are as a collective consciousness, there's always a changing process. Some people call it growth, but I call it growth too because it's movement through time. But which is the fourth dimension, you know what I mean? That fourth dimension has that growth, but there's dimensions above that, you know what I mean? Above time itself and things that exist outside of time. For example, the first three dimensions are length, width, and height, and these are things that I was always thinking about before art, so it kind of helped me getting into art. But length is just, I mean, even before you even get into length, which is a one-dimensional thing, there's something with a zero-dimensional, it's just a point. A point in time is zero dimension, you know what I mean? And then length, a number line, you know what I mean? Very simple, a number line. Like left or right, that's one dimension.
Right.
You got a graph, that's two dimensions. You got a graph, but you got something coming out this way, it's three dimensions. You got length, height, and then depth, you know what I mean? If it's a box, you know what I mean? Now if that box is moving in time, that box is here, now that box is here, you have to add another factor, that's time factor. Now that time factor, that's the fourth dimension. Now there's other dimensions that are out, and those four dimensions define our physical reality. You know, now also
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but do you know about the fifth dimension?
I mean, depends on how you want to define dimensions and how things are defined. How I just believe, and what's just kind of coming to me right now too, is that there are many dimensions above the fourth dimension. Like the four dimensions that I just put down are the four dimensions that break out this physical plane to everybody, but then there's also dimensions above that aren't even on this plane, but that are definitely apparent. For example, our senses itself are like the fact that we do see these dimensions, but the fact that we have something called sight has nothing to do with length. With, you know what I mean, we hear things. When we hear things, we're not hearing anything. I mean, sometimes the hearings are movements through time, but beside those movements through times, the length, width, depth, you know what I mean? A lot of those things are thrown out the window. You know what I mean? The fact that we have senses is a higher dimension. It's just not even a higher dimension. It's just an additional dimension to the first four that was just mentioned.
No doubt.
And also just the mind itself, you know what I mean? And the mind itself, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you could read about, a lot of stuff you could YouTube about. But I mean, if you just sit and contemplate on things like this yourself, there's depths and levels you could get to it. But I believe that just the mind itself, how we think, is a dimension that is also is a necessary dimension for this physicality. This physicality wouldn't exist without the fourth dimension, without that movement through time. Because like Einstein said, time is just there so that everything doesn't happen at once. Yeah, I heard about that quote like last week. I just got to say it again so I remember it.
No doubt. That's interesting.
That's interesting. So like, and it's very true, because if it wasn't, we just had the first three dimensions. And even if we had time, but we had no cognition of it, no mentality to translate what's going on, then there wouldn't be like the four dimensions wouldn't make sense to the mind, you know what I mean? Or the mind could exist without these four dimensions. We could dream, you know what I mean? And not only that, we also need those other senses to connect, because even though like our mind might be here, the reality might be here, if we don't have our senses connecting and seeing what we're seeing, then we wouldn't be able to experience the four dimensions here. So we need those extra dimensions, and that's why I think that there's multitudes of dimensions.
No doubt.
And there's also strengthenings of those dimensions. You know what I'm saying? You can always strengthen your eyesight. I mean, you can strengthen it, you can weaken it. Some people don't believe you can strengthen it, but I think you can. I think that you can strengthen your ear sense. I mean, I've done it as an audio engineer. and other senses.
There's definitely something to say about that. As far as like, you know, when someone loses like the sense of sight, or if somebody loses the sense of hearing, other senses are heightened because of it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So yeah, you can definitely strengthen them. I agree with that.
And oh no, I didn't.
Was that real?
No, that wasn't real. That was real. That was not real. The king is still standing. You know what I'm saying? Bad name. Like, it's not real. But yeah, and I mean, as far as like kind of like some people with certain other disabilities too, like some people have autism, you know, and they might be challenged in certain ways, but extremely gifted in other ways. You know what I'm saying?
Totally
like,
agree. People with Asperger's and things. Of that nature.
Yeah.
You know, high cognitive ability.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing when you actually get to see these people and get to know these people. And I think that at this time there's a lot of stuff going on. Don't want to get into a lot of that stuff, but there's also, and me, I'm very anti-technology, but I do think that with the speed that everything is going on, aside from the negatives, there's also a lot of positives that are going on, and there's certain things that we have to walk on eggshells about when we talk. But being that we have to walk on eggshells, each of us have to be aware individually of our own stereotypes and not prejudice, but prejudice, but the word prejudice comes from prejudgment. You know what I mean? And
right.
so we're always prejudging, you know what I mean? And especially as people, like, I'm not sure everybody, like, I don't, North New Jersey suburban guys, guys are real prejudgmental, you know? So,
definitely.
like, yeah, and I think that, like, whoever you are, not even just color-wise, I think just with whether it comes to intellectual, also color, also maybe sexual orientation, also just whatever it is, or even just job, just lifestyle, you know, it's like there's a lot of things that I do in my lifestyle that people would question about, and then when I break it down, they're like, oh wow, that's completely justified, you know. And I think that there's a lot of prejudgment that I have going over, and I mean, as a kid, and especially like coming up and rapping, there's a lot of derogatory things that I'd say, maybe even about myself, but a lot about other people, certain names that I would use. I really wouldn't even use those in public, you know what I mean? But I mean, just using those and saying those, I would still get, there's still that percentage of mentality that made me write that or think that, and there's still might be some of that lingering. So sometimes like I get upset about a lot of the prejudice, or that might be out, or something that's reiterated and being like, oh, this was like this for hundreds of years, why isn't this changing? But at the same time, it's like a lot of that sometimes builds up and it gets you angry, but the more I kind of let prejudice kind of go in myself and being into that, there's a lot of things I might have said about people who maybe might have been slower intellectually, you know what I'm saying, or maybe I thought wasn't as cool as me as I'm a rapper, you know what I mean?
Well,
like
it's something I wanted to interject with that. One thing about rapping that I learned myself personally, as because I used to rap before, is the power of words. The power of words is something that's not really people don't understand how powerful words can be. You know what I'm saying? Because the raps that I wrote, sometimes you could write something and then it comes true. You know what I'm saying? Because there's power in your words. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, it's crazy, and it's crazy because sorry for cut you off, but that's true. That is completely true, and just like how you could speak some things into existence, or you could think things into existence. When you write, when you think something, that's one thing. When you say something, is another thing. When you write something, it's even deeper.
Deeper. Absolutely.
And that's why I kind of patience is worth 1,000 words, man. So it's like I'd rather just paint that and let people come up with their own thing. But yeah, continue about what you were saying about that, man. That's very true. Man.
I mean, manifestation is a really powerful thing. You know what I'm saying? And affirmations. You know what I'm saying? So as a rapper, you'll write something down, and then you go over it over and over and over again, and what that's doing is that's bringing it into life, into this dimension. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That's what it does.
And again, that's one of those transfer roads. Just like how we have our five senses in that we talk about. There's a lot more transfer roads, and that's a transfer road for not like their senses bring this reality, this physicality into our mindset, but that speaking things into reality or putting things into reality bring things from our mindset out. You know what I mean? And we do that all the time. I mean, we breathe, we're bringing things in and out all the time. So it's a continual process. And I mean, there's times when you're aware of it, there's times when you're not, but whether you're aware of it or not, you're always doing it. So the more that you are aware of it, and the more you kind of just like aware of it and kind of just shape it. Like Pac said, once you know the levels and the rules of the game, it ain't really a game no more, man. You know what I mean? It ain't really a trick no more. It's just a game to be played. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know what I mean? It's just a game to be played. I don't get tricked in chess. I might lose the game. You know what I mean? Or two. Not this one, but no, we don't know yet. We're not gonna go into the cameras off to play this one. I don't like to lose on camera. Well, yeah, man. But yeah, and that's interesting. But I got some questions for you, man, because nobody knows.
This is a spin.
Yeah, because I watched the last 4 episodes, man, and I really wanted to say that, I just met this brother yesterday, actually, and I don't really bring too many people in this area. This is I don't want to say a sacred area, but it has a certain energy. And I used to do a lot of music here. Some people have been here, but I don't really bring too many people here. Some people I bring just off the strength, you know. Never done an interview down here. I don't think I've done an interview on camera yet, especially for the art.
It's greatly appreciated.
Yeah. I'm really not an interview type. And I was just off the strength, man. We met at a graffiti event yesterday. I always go to. Shout to Jersey Fresh, jerseyfreshjam.com, jerseyfreshjam.com. Again, jerseyfreshjam.com. Check that out. You got some real kings, Jersey, Philly, all over coming out there. But yeah, I met him out there, man, while I was just doing my spray paint art. And man, we just built, and he was like, "Yo, we gotta do this show, man." So but yeah, so like, how did you get into the show? Like, we'll talk about my art later, man.
Okay.
Like, how'd you?
Okay. First of all, let me say thank you very much. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But you know, certain people you meet and you be like, "Yo, nah, man, we just vibe." You know what I'm saying? So I feel like on a vibratory level, we definitely like right there. So I feel like that's why it's like. You know, and I knew it was gonna be magic with the interview. You know what I mean? I hope y'all enjoy it, by the way, too. Yeah. Now, I mean, what actually got me into this is funny that you asked. Like, you're the first person that ever asked me what got me into it. It was a spiritual journey for me, actually. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I had to go within. I went through a lot of things, and I was like, you know what? What's the best way I could help myself? You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was always going this way, that way, doing this job, that job. And I had to just really go within. So I started to meditate. I started to walk through the woods and do like nature hikes and just really be alone with my own mind. And just, you know, instead of going outside, I went inside. You know what I'm saying? Inside of me. And what I decided that I wanted to do was I wanted to do something that was going to help the world in general. I know that kind of sounds maybe a little hokey or whatever, but it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? What I wanted to do was I wanted to help the world. And my best idea was to come up with a platform where people could project their ideas, products, and personalities, and they have a platform for it. You know what I'm saying? So as the channel gets bigger, the people that are interviewed get bigger. You know what I'm saying? The bigger the audience, the bigger it is, and the better it is for everybody involved. You know what I'm saying? So, and I kind of thought about it like that. So I'm like, wow, you know what I'm saying? If I could just manifest that, make that happen. And I just spent about like a year and a half trying to come up with the funds and, you know, the energy and, you know, put together the entire process. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, man. That's deep, man. I'm like almost getting emotional hearing that, because what you're saying, I checked out, because remember, I just met this guy yesterday, and he sent me over the couple episodes of the show, and I looked at all the episodes of the show, and the feeling that I got from the show was literally word for word what you said. I couldn't even put it into better terms. So what you were going for, what you said that you were going for, and however hokey you said that it was, that's exactly what I was like. Yo, this is cool. Like he was like, man, I'm gonna interview tomorrow. I was like, all right, cool. I gave him my Budda Black status. Da, da, da. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of real professional people on this show, on your shows, man, and like so much professional people that I'm like, man, like this guy's really interviewing me. He really doesn't even know me. He don't know me. But like, and for you to come over and have that like after I saw those shows, and I was like, man, like he really wants to put me on that show. That's pretty good. And really check out those other episodes. We didn't really I didn't talk about name dropping or anything before this, but there's definitely a couple people on there. Everybody on there is real good. There were definitely a couple sisters on there that was like so inspirational about so inspirational about getting kids involved in entrepreneurship.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's such a that's so beautiful right there. And again, like you asked me, like you only asked me one question. I think, how did I get into this?
Right.
And there's many answers to that. And again, my mom, she's actually an entrepreneur.
Wow.
And yeah, she started a business out of this house. It had to do with micropigmentation, permanent cosmetics, which is actually like it's a big thing now, but she was in that industry since the 80s. She started in this house, she moved. She started right here in this basement behind this camera, which you guys don't get to see. You have to pay to be here. You know what I mean? Like if you can see right here, BuddaBlack.com, BUDDA. BLACK.com, BuddaBlack@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Email me, you know what I mean? Drop your phone number, I'll give you a call. You know what I mean? I have no problem, you know what I mean? You want to come through?
Be in the link in the description too.
Yeah, you call me. We gotta just have a discussion about anything if you want. If you're interested in any art, I do murals, I do portraits. Like you see everything up on the website. And I'll work with you with the prices too. I have my suggested price card on the website, but don't even worry about that.
I want to say something too.
Yeah.
The reason I had wanted to do the interview with you in particular was because I believe in you. Like when I seen this man at work, you know what I'm saying, at the Fresh Festival yesterday, I was like, wow, man, I was totally blown away with the spray paints and how you did everything like that. You actually sat there, took a blank canvas, you know what I'm saying, with some spray paint and made it happen. Like painted a picture. I wish you still had the picture.
I think that's,
you know what I'm saying.
I still got the picture.
You do?
Yeah, you got 30 seconds.
Yeah. It was lit. It was lit. Like sat there from a blank canvas, turned it into a wonderful work of art, and I was like, wow, man. I always wish I could draw. I can't draw. I can't sing. I got limitations to myself. You know what I'm saying? But when I see true talent, you know what I'm saying, I definitely want to showcase it. You know what I mean? And that's definitely why we're here today.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Just
to get that light, you know what I mean, on this brother and support this brother. You know what I'm saying? Support this brother.
I appreciate that. And now I mean, I like everything you said except that one word, can't. My mom used to always say that word shouldn't be in your vocabulary.
Right,
I actually used that word in my vocabulary when I was talking with Unity, and I was like, yo, I can't do this. And he was like, yes, you can. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, you know what I mean? It's hard. He was like, no, it's not. You know what I mean? And yeah, you can draw, it's just you don't choose to. You know what I mean? You could do it, you know what I mean? It's easy, line, circle, dot. It don't take nothing to draw. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could do it too. And I'm telling you, Unity told me that, and 3 years later, I was like, man, like still like, man, I was calling him up like, yo, what we painting this year? Every time I called him up, it was going to his answer machine. He was just booked with work.
Okay.
So I'm like, you know what? Yo, I wanted this Ninja Turtle face on my hood, you know? And I was like, yo, I've been drawing this.
That's what actually pulled me over to the table yesterday, was that painting a crane.
I'll bring that right here. Yo, this is my favorite painting.
The thing is, like, yo, if you grew up in the 80s, like, if you were 80s babies or 90s babies, you know about Krang. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, there was a couple of things that I did in my life. Yo, all the paintings I did in my life, I'm like, all right, cool. But, yo, I've been wanting to do this since I was a little kid. This is why I didn't draw. Because I couldn't get to this level, you know what I mean, of concentration. You know what I mean? I've been wanting to draw this since, like, 2nd grade. You know what I mean? Just a big Krang. If you look closely, it's a little dark in here, but if you look closely, actually, I got all 4 turtles in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what I mean? I got Michelangelo about to bust them. Got Donnie over here, He's all mad. Leonardo's like, all right, cool, let's get him. And Raphael, he's just like, he wants to be in the fight, but he came late to the party. So
that is so crazy.
Well, yeah, I like to
No
work
doubt.
I like to work on a real large scale like this. Also, like, let me just grab something else. I have so much stuff over here, man. Like this one's on my website right now, but I have to deliver this one. This is a portrait. I do portraits about this size. I do black and white and color. But yeah, again, call me for just email me. Go to the website buddablack.com, BUDDABLACK. BuddhaBlack@gmail, and then yeah, just email me. We could talk about prices if you're interested in any of this stuff. Yeah. So
Right. So it's another question I had wanted to ask you, and this is a big question for you. Religion or spirituality? Where do you fall on the spectrum of this question right here? And let's expound on it.
So it's interesting because I mean, like, up to this point in the conversation, I mean, we've already gotten kind of philosophical, and I was gonna ask you that question before, but you said you went on a spiritual path. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I just try to stay philosophical. You know, like I saw in one of your last interviews, you asked somebody, yo, what was the last book you read? And I was like, and I was thinking to myself, man, I don't even read. And what's funny is the last book I read was actually the Book of Ruth in the Bible.
Wow. Okay.
And it was like probably a couple weeks ago. And I'm not a religious person. I think, right, I know I'm baptized Presbyterian. I haven't been to church for a service that's not a wedding or funeral, you know what I mean, in many years. Like, not that I'm not against church services. I think that I think religious services of any kind, if it helps a person, it helps a person. I think spiritual services. And you ask me what I am, me personally, that's a very deep question, because it's a very deep question, especially like people have been calling me Buddha my whole life. So, you know what I mean, I don't know the answer to that, man. I try to stay philosophical, man. I try to stay philosophical, and I try to stay happy, and I try to stay respectful of everybody. I think that there's a little bit of religion in spirituality. I think there's a little bit of spirituality in religion. I think everybody has a different opinion on it. And sometimes talking about it is good. Sometimes people could, just like anybody's like opinion on government. Two people could agree on everything, and there could be just a slight disagreement on something, which they're both trying to get to the same goal. You know what I mean? They both want to make a better world for their kids, or a better money situation. You know what I'm saying? But just those slight disagreements in the words. You know what I mean? For example, again, not religious. But again, in the Bible, man, I'm bringing up the Bible like crazy right now. In the Bible, I believe, and I also believe it's in Gilgamesh, so it's not just a religious thing. It's also
Gilgamesh, the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Yeah, in the Epic of Gilgamesh, and I also believe in the Bible, there was a story of Babylon. I think in Gilgamesh, it was like a prelude. I don't know. I read it, like, yo, don't quote me on that. Go read it. You know what I mean? I should go read it, but I don't read. But don't take advice from me unless it's about art. But so anyway, in Gilgamesh and also in the Bible, they broke down Babylon, and in Babylon, I mean, you could go looking what Babylon was or what Babylon is or anything, and but in Babylon they were building a tower, and the tower, like, at that time in Babylon, all the people all over the world or in that area spoke the same language. They were building a tower, and being that they spoke the same language, they were able to coordinate with everybody else, work together, and build a tower to the heavens. And their point was, once they got a tower, once they could reach the heavens themselves, they didn't need the gods. You know what I'm saying? Because they could reach the heavens themselves. You know what I'm saying? So, at what the gods did, or God, or, you know what I mean, he broke down the tower and spread the people around the earth, and was like, y'all all go your separate ways. You know what I'm saying? And what they say is that he confused the tongues, or they say the gods confused the tongues, depending on which. Or the only part of that whole story that I remember is that in the Bible, the verse says he confused the tongues of the people. And now by confusing the tongues of the people, I'm not sure because tongues is another word for language,
right?
So by confusing the tongues, does that mean that they made different language, that he gave all these people a different language?
That was my understanding.
Or yeah, that's I think that's that was my initial understanding. Or the fact is, when you go outside and you listen to birds, they're all singing. They sing different songs, but they all sing their song, whatever they sing. You know what I mean? But then they eat, they do whatever. You know what I mean? The cats, they meow, whatever. You know what I mean? The house cat meow just like the outside cats meow. That's how they meow. You know what I mean? Some of them a little bit different, but like I don't know if you have a cat or a dog, but usually if you got a cat or a dog, I mean, whether they're barking, meowing, or they're just looking at you, you could usually kind of tell about the mood that they're in. They could still communicate nonverbal.
Isn't that funny?
Isn't
that funny? I think that all animals, we all, like, if you take the time out, right, and I on my walks, I would see deer, I would see, chipmunks and all of that. You can see that animals not only could communicate, and animals are really highly sensitive to people, you know what I'm saying? They can feel your emotions. They feel you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and sensitive to each other.
Yeah, and sensitive to each other and their environment as well. You know what I'm saying? That's big things.
More sensitive than we are, actually, and we take a lot of that for granted. We I think we as people, and again, like, maybe it might just be a Jersey thing, maybe it might just be an American thing, or maybe it just might be a modern time thing, but just we as people, we kind of separate ourselves. And just into that, like I think that we're animals, you know what I mean? I've seen animals with clothes on, I've seen people without. You know what I'm saying? So like we're animals, So like and again, if we can communicate with animals like that, like we could also communicate with people. It's like we know, like, whether, like, I've had conversations with people that I've communicated with people who don't speak English, you know what I mean? If they're hungry, if I've been in another country and they're like, hungry like this, you know what I mean? I know what they want. They want $1. They're hungry. You know what I'm saying? You don't even need to. There's nonverbal communication. I think that that there's a lot of confusion that comes just from verbal. And I talk a lot. You know what I mean? Sorry, I am a very confused person at times. Well, I still don't even know if I want to be a rapper. No, I don't want to be a rapper. I don't know if I want to be a spray painter or a portrait artist. But I think that a lot of confusion comes from just language in general, and I think that the tongue. What does the tongue do what does the tongue do beside language? It helps us eat. We taste our food. You know what I mean? That's the job of the tongue. So when he confused the tongue, it means I think it wasn't that it split up the language. I think that the fall of Babylon was was actually giving language. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Before the fall of Babylon, we were approaching heaven.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow. Yo, I've never heard it interpreted like that. But that's very intriguing. That's a very intriguing thought.
So and again, it's like, I mean, that's just my own thought. You know what I mean? A lot of times, and everybody has their own thoughts, and like that's why I really try not to be against religion or against spirituality, against what anybody. You know what I mean? I try to read into a lot of stuff. Try to stay away from the dark stuff. You know what I mean? But if people's into that, they into that. You know what I mean?
I got another question. So like, COVID-19 was a big separation amongst people. You know what I'm saying? Like, when this whole COVID-19 situation hit, everybody had to isolate. How did you cope with this situation with COVID-19?
Alright, that's interesting. Originally, when he was going to ask that question, I was going to be like, yo, no comment. But I'll get into that one, actually, because, alright, for the last couple years, that's a long story, man, because I still got to get into my story to break that down, but it had me reevaluate what I was doing the last couple of years, and really look at myself as an artist, look at myself as a performer, as a traveler, just as a man, just as a human, as a being, like, I mean, like a lot of these things I think about all the time anyway. So it's kind of just these things that I was thinking about. It kind of just put a pressure cooker on it because didn't have the chance to go out on the road and paint or go out on the road and not paint. You know what I mean? I didn't have the chance to really go out and do anything. You know what I mean? And it was like, I mean, like, I love my mom, you know what I mean? I love my grandmother, and I really respect them because it's like, you know what I mean? This isn't my house, it's our house, you know, like, and it's really their house, you know, like, and unfortunate enough, like, I moved around a lot in my 20s and stuff, and then I kind of came back here after the engineering, and I was able to kind of build my, my studio here, both with music and both with art, you know, so, but being here, like, and just here and just around the family, and I'm sure a lot of other people have experienced that. Sometimes there's certain tensions that are going to come up, you know, so like that was pretty tough. But, and last year I was just reconsidering what I wanted to do this year, because I'll get into what I was doing the last couple of years, and I kind of did it again this year, was to go out and travel around and spray paint. And I was, at the end of last year, I really didn't want to do it anymore. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah, I really didn't want to do it anymore. But I kind of want to say what I was doing before I tell you what I did want to do. So, like how you were saying, you met me the other day and or yesterday, and you saw what I was doing. I was spray painting. So yesterday I made my 137th spray paint of the year. Last year I made 593. I think is this the last one? No, this is number 585.
You're really keeping count.
Yeah, I got it on the back right here.
Yeah.
You know, I got a little tag mark, 2019, 585, and I usually put my website up here. So all the ones this year say, actually I put the number on this side this year, I switched it up. But yeah, 2020, they're all
You
numbered.
can see that picture? That shit dope.
Huh?
That picture's dope.
Oh, look, yeah, it's kind of like a boat coming out of a kind of, I don't know, a dimensional portal. You know?
Wow,
Just
that is
mean?
fire.
Well, yeah, this is an individual one. I really don't like, I do both sometimes, but just the way I did the background, and I don't do that much. So, and it all glows in a black light too.
Wow.
Everything that I do glows in a black light.
Wow.
I've painted all these live outside, and about 2 years ago, like I was telling you, I went to Ethiopia a couple years ago, and actually, yeah. Let's get into the pyramid story.
Okay,
We'll get into the pyramid story, and then we'll get into what I was doing for the last couple of years, if we got enough time.
Yeah,
and
we
then,
got enough time.
And then what was the question? And then that'll help. That'll help shine a light on where I was toward the whole COVID situation.
Yeah. Okay.
So, sorry, it's a lot. So a couple years ago, I was going through a couple things with myself, and I found out like I was going through some anxiety. And I had high blood pressure, and it was just one night I put a blood pressure cuff on my arm, and it was super high. And the next morning I chose, rather than go to the doctor, I was like, you know what? I've never seen anything. I want to see something great. I want to see the pyramids or Stonehenge, something like that's still there that nobody knows how it was built. So I went out there. I went out to Ethiopia. Then I went out to Egypt. I booked the flight the next morning, and then I went out like a week later. And went to Ethiopia. That was awesome. Check out Africa, beautiful country, beautiful continent. Ethiopia, beautiful country. Then when I went out to Egypt, it was beautiful, man. I was right, like I could see the pyramids, like from my hotel. Like when I was going to sleep on my deck, I was looking at the Sphinx, man. I should have bought my sketchbook. I don't know what sketchbook I got it in, but I didn't even take I don't do Instagram or anything. So I didn't even take pictures. Like everything that I wanted to capture, I drew. So that when I look at my drawings, like there's so many things you take pictures of, and then you don't even look at your pictures. You lose your phone or whatever. You know what I mean? Like everything that I've drawn, I look back at, and it's crazy. Almost like that movie, The Butterfly Effect. You know, it's like I look at it, and it just takes me back, like. You know, it's like, and it takes me back to those feelings, those moments, those smells. You know, and I think that's like we were talking about dimensions and things, and we were talking about the fourth dimension before.
No doubt.
And I think that the fourth dimension is movement through time. Now you can move you can move in all those other directions, but time moves just straight forward. And when I was a kid, I was obsessed with a time machine, obsessed with time machines. And I think that there's other levels to it, but I think that's a point of I don't think the machine part, but I think that time manipulation, you can manipulate your own view of time, and you could capture that moment and go back to it, like, at least by drawing certain other things that you could do. Certain other things like playing basketball, sometimes like that might bring you back to feeling as a kid if you didn't even do it in 10 years. You know what I mean? You might be like, oh man, this was cool. I remember doing this, and go out to the park again. But yeah, just looking at those drawings, I'll go back to it, and I should have had it prepped before I got here, but it's whatever. Call me up. I got prints. But yeah, so I went to the pyramid. And my guide, like, this was the last day. I went to a whole bunch of different pyramids, when I saw the museums, everything. And my guide, the last day, he was like, well, there's nothing in the pyramids, big open room. Like, I'm like, bro, like, I came all the way over here to go in there. Like, I didn't tell him that, you know what I mean? But I'm like, I'm going in there, you know? And he was like, all right, well, if you're going to go in the pyramid, just go in one of the small ones. Because on the pyramid site where the Sphinx is, there are 9 pyramids. Yeah, so the story goes, there's they don't break this down over here. You know,
we only see 3.
Yeah,
you know
they don't break this down over here. I wasn't gonna break down a lot of stuff because it's like I try not to break all that down. I don't want to be into conspiracy stuff, but this is like, they'll tell you this if you go over there anyway. So, you know what I mean, for the people who were like, oh, I don't want to go over there, I just want to look at videos. For the people who want to go over there, go over there. It's cheap. Flights are cheap, bro. Go. You know what I mean? So but either way, I'm gonna let you know what the deal is. You know what I mean? So there are 9 pyramids on the main pyramid site. There are more pyramids all around. The first pyramid is the first pyramid, and the tallest pyramid, called the Great Pyramid, was made by the first pharaoh that made the pyramids. He had 3 wives. There are 3 mini pyramids right next to that pyramid for his first, second, and third wife. The second pyramid that we usually always see, it has that little top thing at the top. You know, it looks like an ice cream cone thing at the top. You know what I'm talking about?
Not really.
All right, so if you're looking at whenever they show the 3 pyramids, there's always that one pyramid that looks like it has like a little, I don't know, it has like a little, it looks like the top of a mountain. Like the top is like, it's white. Like, so the pyramids, they used to have limestone on it. The middle pyramid, it still has the limestone on it.
Okay.
And that was made by another pharaoh. He didn't make any other pyramids after that. Then there's a third pyramid, and each pyramid goes down in size. The first pyramid is the largest, the second one is the second largest, the third one was made by another pharaoh, and he has 3 little pyramids for his 3 princes, for his sons. So when I went there, dude was like, yo, just go in, don't go in the big one, just go in one of the little ones for his wives. I was like, all right, cool. So I went into the first pyramid of the first pharaoh's first wife. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. So I get down there, going all the way down there. Yo, it's a true story, and I'm over here, so y'all can't do nothing about it. Y'all gotta like this. So I go down there, and the whole time I was over in Ethiopia,